Okay, I'm starting with this Dollar Tree sign and I'm going to go ahead and remove all of this paper. For me, this part is always a bit of a process. It never seems to come off as easy as I see other people do it. Like theirs just magically peels off, but mine, nope, not so much. And this one actually has paper on both sides, so I'm just going to spray some water and use my scraper and also let it sit a little bit, let it sit a good 5-10 minutes. And once I get it off, I'm just going to set it aside and let that MDF dry. If you have any tricks on how to get rid of this paper a little easier, let me know. I mean, this is the only way I've ever seen anyone do it, and I have to keep going back and forth. Scrape, go back and spray. Scrape, you get what I'm saying. So off camera, I added a little piece of tape along the top and then painted that with the color Moss by Waverly. And now for the rest of the surface, I'm going in with my glue stick and making sure I get everything nice and covered. And then I'm taking this beautiful image that was sent to me by a sweet subscriber, and I'm going to lay it right down on top of that glue. And there's a bit of overhang, but that's fine. I'll trim it off here in a second. But before I do that, I'm going to take a moment and really burnish it in with my hands. The warmth from my hands actually helps activate that adhesive and get everything nice and smooth and adhered. So I'm putting my hands to work today, and then I'll clean up the edges with my Fiskars tool set. And this has all kinds of attachments, which I love, and just trim away the excess. And I'll be sure to link this in the description box. If you can see like the little saw attachment on the right hand side, that works like a charm to cut foam. So you may need that in your life. All right, then I'm going to take my Tim Holtz distressing in the color Walnut Stain, and I'm going to use my little finger dauber here all along the top, and then I just go in directly with the pad itself and go around the edges, and then just take my finger dauber again to blend it out and soften it. And of course, if you don't like distressing, totally skip it, but it's my jam and I distress everything. Now for my favorite part, I'm going in with my IOD white ink and their lace stamp. This is from their 2026 release. I'm going to ink it up really well. I want this to be nice and juicy, and then place it right on top of my sign. I love using these stamps, but I have to be honest, I get a little anxious. I am so terrified of smudging it, but I set it gently on top of my sign. And the most important part really is to keep one hand on it the whole time. You've probably heard people say this before, but it's important. You don't want it to slip and smudge, so just do one hand at a time. Move your hand, your fingers, just use whatever. If you decide to use a brayer, just be careful, because I've messed up inking several times with brayers because I pushed too hard. But make sure you just pull it up straight like that, and look at how beautiful that is, guys. I'm smitten. I'm smitten with it. Then I'm taking this lace that I get on Amazon, using a little bit of hot glue, not too much, and glue it along the top. I'm sorry, guys. I know this video is a little late, but I wanted to make sure that I pushed it out. Hopefully, you'd find a little inspiration. You could use something other than a bunny. And I was going to just hold off until next year, but I pushed it out, as you can see. And then I used some Aleene's tacky glue and added those pretty beads. And for the hanger, I'm using this fabric ribbon. It comes on a jelly roll from Amazon. And that's it for this. I think it's so cute, and I want to know what you think too. All right, for my next project, I'm using one of Dollar Tree's galvanized planters, and I'm starting with my Layla pen mold. I'm trying to say it all fancy. From IOD's 2026 spring release. And I'm dusting this little bunny with some cornstarch. And then I'm going to take my Das air dry clay, warming it up in my hands and pressing it into the mold. And it's important to work that clay. It softens it quite a bit and it's just so much easier to work with. Now, if you don't have clay, you could definitely use resin for this. But since I'm working on a curved surface and I'm going to be layering my pieces, I think clay is the best choice here. And it also gives me more flexibility. I can tear pieces away, do partial castings, and really mold everything together so it flows as one design and it will sit nicely on that curved surface. Now, as you can see here, I'm using a little burnishing tool from Redesign. It's pretty much a craft stick to remove the excess clay. I know a lot of people do it this way, so I figured I'd give it a try. And look at that cute little bunny. And then I did a partial casting of this basket of flowers. I'm just removing the basket part and setting that down. And I think it kind of looks like the bunny is sitting like right in a patch of flowers and grass or maybe even a little garden. So I'm going to cast another one of those and set that on the other side. I'm next casting a bunch of these radish leaves and I'm going to place them all along the bottom. He's basically surrounded by all the good stuff. He's got vegetables and radishes. You're going to see here in a second, I'm going to add some carrots and flowers. Just a whole lot of spring garden happening here. I'm going to make a bunch of my castings first before I go in with my Titebond Quick and Thick. That way I can play around with the layout and rearrange everything until I like how it looks and commit with my glue. Because if you haven't used Titebond Quick and Thick, it dries quickly, hence the name Titebond Quick and Thick. And so as you can see here, I cast a hyacinth and a tulip, and I'm just shortening them a little bit. And adding another tulip to this side, and then adding these sweet little carrots, just removing the bottom. That way it looks like they're planted in the ground. Now I'm going to glue all my castings down now that I know how I want them arranged. Now I'm changing things up a little bit here. I'm taking a piece of clay and I'm flattening it out, keeping it a little thicker on the bottom and then tapering it a little thinner as it goes up. Then I'm going to set my bunny on top so it looks like he's sitting down in the radishes with them kind of surrounding him instead of it looking like he's sitting on top of them, if I'm making sense. Now I'm adding back in my flowers and I also cast a little pot here and I'm setting one of the hyacinths right down into the pot, at least it's going to look that way, and that mold came from Amazon. And I'm also going to cast this little watering can as well, and I'm going to place that off to the side, and that's also from that same mold from Amazon. And next I'm casting this trim from my IOD primitive mold, and I'm going to run that along the top. I'm putting my glue directly on the galvanized planter and then pressing the trim right down into it, and I ended up casting a total of 3 of these all the way across. I let this sit about 6 hours so my castings could form a bit of a crust, and then I gave it 2 coats of Paint Couture's Farmhouse Linen Chalk Paint. And for my second coat, I added a little bit of salt wash to it. That's a texture additive, and I just love stippling that on. It adds such a nice texture, and when you go in with your glaze later, it settles into all those little details. And just I love how it looks. And then off camera I sealed everything in before going in with this light brown sugar glaze, and of course that's all by Paint Couture, and I wiped it back with a damp rag, bringing out all that detail. And I felt like it was missing something above the bunny, so I cast a little bow out of my Timeless Ties mold, and then I painted that with some bronze metallic paint. I decided not to add any color to this one. I just love how soft and neutral it is. It kind of gives me that French country feel. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, I'd love it if you gave it a like, leave me a comment, and subscribe if you're new. And don't forget to hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss another video from me. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Until the next one, bye.